Right, I am here with the amazing Laura Eisenhower, and Laura doesn't need many introductions to any of you, but researcher, author, astrologer, great-granddaughter of President Dwight Eisenhower, which I think will probably come up in our conversations today about where we're all at, but really an expert researcher and speaker about health, exo-politics, alchemy, astrology, galactic history. You do it all. And I love my conversations with you so much, Laura, because you're this amazing balance of, I don't even really know how to explain it. I get more excited speaking to you because you've got so much knowledge on one side, but you're really raw and real on the other side of things. And I think that's an amazing gift. So how are you doing? And thank you for being here today.
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. I always love talking to you.
Oh, now you've been a busy bee. So let's start off with talking about what you've been doing over the last couple of months. I know you've had lots of trips, lots of speaking engagements, and you've got a few more coming up. Anything you want to share about those, about how they've been for you, what sort of people they've attracted, and very much what do you get out of those?
Yeah, well, there was some Florida expos, a New York expo, a retreat I did in Destin, Florida. I mean, I get so much out of just meeting people, and it's fun to do my presentations. I love being in the areas, just being in the city of New York that I don't get to go to very much. Just feeling into the energy there and taking Ubers around, going to different, spots. And Florida's beautiful. I mean, my favorite part, no, is actually, of course, at the event, but just the different locations because it's drawing people, that are local,
Yeah,
so you really strong feel for the energies and what people are processing, what the general climate is as far as the shifting world that we're in and how that particular location is like handling it. And you can just see the way things have morphed and changed over the years because of the pandemic. Um, but yeah, just, sort of things feeling like they're back, not to normal, because there's no such thing, but it's not everybody's wearing a mask. It's not like this heavy agenda being pushed, but you see signs of it. But some of those signs seem to be wavering. But it's almost like
yeah.
what's coming next. So I'm really glad that there's been a shift um, with this administration coming in.
Mm.
Uh, it feels a lot lighter, but at the same time, we'll just have to keep our eyes on all of it. Understanding that we, the people, are the ones that need to rise and overthrow the deep state and really pay attention to, uh, yeah, every aspect of all of this. I I love just how powerful and advanced people are when I do their charts. It's like every single one of us holds the keys to all that we need to be a very powerful co-creator in this journey, on a more positive trajectory and timeline. And what we really notice is falling away is the dependency bond with this inverted system. And that, this administration is more about having the freedom to be all that we came here to be, not so much, expecting somebody else to do it all for us. Like
Yeah.
I just hope the space is being held for people to really emerge in their true purpose and not feel like, we have to operate in the way that we have been for so many thousands of years under the authority and control, of a governmental structure and system. And I just see all that changing because so much is coming up to the surface that's been hiding. The Diddy list, the Epstein list, crimes against humanity, pedophilia, human trafficking, the MK Ultra, survivors and victims. I mean, even Kathy O'Brien met
Yeah.
Trump. And, it's like, so that's all, very positive. That's the most important thing, is that everything that's been hiding underneath the scenes that has been engineering what we think is reality is crumbling. And now we can rehabilitate and heal as a human race. So I get excited seeing how that is shifting and changing, and how that is shifting and changing in people's awareness, and seeing that we're in a world that's reflecting back to us, that we're seeing it in the larger picture on the world stage as well.
I love it. Those human connections are so important, and there has been so much change. And I think sometimes we can overlook that when we look at the scale of what's still not right, but equally, there's a lot that is right. Having said that, I'd love your opinion, if you've got one, on so many people talk about living in a matrix, and a lot of the times we use these phrases, but the problem is they mean such different things to each and every one of us. And I was having a profound thought this morning on my dog walk, which is where most of my thoughts happen, is about, look, whatever and whoever created this reality that we're living in, when you look at nature, there's so much inherent cruelty in nature. But with wildlife and everything in resources, whether you're a tree or whether you're an animal, there's a huge amount of inherent cruelty and suffering and hardships. And we talk about that a lot in the human race, but your knowledge covers so many different areas, Laura. Where are you at the moment about whether we're in a simulation, whether we're in a matrix, what on earth we're really living in?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, I feel it's both. I feel that there's been an overlay, like artificial matrix. You know, if we look at the planetary grid network and how that's been manipulated with reversal grid technology that has been placed in sacred sites to impact the ley lines, the integration of the electric and magnetic, the Cathar and Albion body, you know, the Michael Married ley lines connected to sacred union, how that's all been tampered with. And, you know, the reversal really targeting the dodecahedron platonic solid and the ether element to spin it in an opposite direction so that we digress, so that we feel like physical density has more power over us than the spiritual. That's been corrected and that's turning around. So the trajectory of where these reversal grid networks were taking us was, you know, where our energy has been siphoned and harvested to help enable and help them to engineer, you know, something false, where we're constantly looking outside of ourselves and they're throwing us psyops and false flags, engineered events with this problem reaction solution to keep us constantly in this dependency bond. And so that's like an overlay. To me, that's a simulation that we've participated in, that's used our minds, our creative energy, and you know, just our inner elementals. So the nucleic acids of our DNA being elemental, earth, air, fire, water, the mitochondrial DNA is connected to ether, which connects us to the mother. And that's been like very, very damaged. So the return of the mother energy, the healing of the planetary grids, and the spin of the ether being corrected into a flow where we can really bring that in helps us to purify the inner elements. And that's happening on the planet. And in this process, the alchemical laws of creation are more opened up. So the dark weaponry, the geoengineering begins to collapse as we begin to take more charge of ourselves, of our creative energy. When we, you know, meditate and break down these superstorms with our, you know, consciousness and intent, we're no longer on autopilot. We're no longer just oblivious. You know, we recognize something's, you know, off, something's wrong. So where we've been, you know, kind of mind controlled or socially engineered, and where there's geoengineering, and we see that in nature, that's just a small portion of this sort of simulated version where everything just doesn't feel real. Like that's not coming from nature. That's not coming from us or our divine blueprint or our greater birthright. So when we begin to collapse that, and when the war on consciousness within ourselves, we help, you know, crumble that on the planet. And notice higher harmonic universes and higher earth energies where none of that exists. So as long as it exists in us and we're sort of enslaved and, you know, under this net or simulation, we're going to notice that that nature is also that, because we're it's an outer reflection of us and the health of us as a collective. Yeah. So when we, you know, break that dependency bond and we're not in that engineered simulation, we notice what's organic. We feel, I mean, I just feel like the earth responds to us. So we're in a temporary simulation of what it looks like. What if it's happening to us, it's happening to the nature around us, but Mother Earth is way more powerful and so are we. So it's just holding us into this sort of 3D construct or matrix. But when we crack through it, when we dissolve those frequency fences, it's like, oh, okay, that's just a very limited expression of the totality of the wholeness of all that this earth is, and so are we. That's why when we do holistic healing versus going on pharmaceuticals or just answering to the doctor, it's like that keeps us, you know, in a lesser version of ourselves. But there are more powerful aspects that exist that we just haven't tapped into.
Yeah.
So I feel like the simulation we're in, as long as we're ourselves engineered and mind controlled, you know, but as we move away from that, we notice a world that those weapons and the geoengineering and the mind control upon us doesn't exist anymore, if that makes any sense. And so the ascension timeline and trajectory takes us into that, because sort of like I compare it to a breakup with a relationship. As long as you're under the spell of an abuser who charmed you into it and has hooked you into it, you're not going to know the vibration of true love. You're not going to know your own self-worth. But the minute you cut those cords and you hold space for that, a whole nother world opens up. Soulmates, soul family, true partners, healthier living, you know, your body changes, your physiology changes, and you open up to something so much more that your actual life path becomes more pleasing to the soul. And so we'll notice that the simulation is falling away when it falls away in us, I guess I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I love it. And you can, I mean, I can certainly see it. I can feel it with myself. I can feel it with others. And with yourself, I mean, you mentioned their meditation and how when we do these things, you know, we talk about these, we all know how good they are for us, but sometimes we still don't prioritize them despite knowing that. What are you finding that works for you the best in terms of personal habits and things that you can introduce into your daily life to help you really tap into all this energy and information?
Well, just shutting everything down, just being in nature. I do intermittent fasting, and I just take a lot of herbs and just really, you know, good things. Like, how can I clear out maybe what I've taken on, whether it's when I'm out and about. Just we're all impacted by the 5G and the chemtrail, you know, we're all impacted by that. So it's just a constant maintenance of, all right, well, I'm going to give myself a couple days where I'm just clearing out my system, especially after I travel, airport, just like proteins, like whatever it might be. And also what is coming in from just the devices, just getting, if I find myself getting all caught up in the information and the information overload of like, it could be this, it could be that, or this is what the future holds, or this is what's happening in the world. Like if I don't like shut off and shut it down to hear my own thoughts and feel what's coming in, you know, I'm just going to get overwhelmed. And it's just, I just in a fog of confusion of like, wait a second. I need to ground and be in my center and have more neutrality and be the observer and be like, okay, that's a possibility, but what do I want to participate in? Do I really want to own that and believe that? And that is not something I tend to do, but if I do find myself being yanked in, it's like, all right, enough. My brain is getting overloaded. I'm just feeling the chaoticness of it all. So who I deeply respect their research are saying completely different things. And it's just not me to, you know, get lost in it. But if I find myself being yanked into it and overly like processing it all to the point where I'm feeling ungrounded, I shut it all down. So animals are everything. Like there's just the medicine of animals. And I know this is where you just really just hold so much connecting to, you know, as medicine, as just a healer, as, you know, somebody just so in tune. Yeah, it's what I put in my body and what I allow myself exposure to, you know, and the sun, connecting to the sun and the elements, Epsom salt baths, essential oils, sound healing, frequencies. Yeah, just shielding with EMF protection, like shungite and black tourmaline and taking note of my dreams. Like I was having really crappy dreams and then I really, really shifted the energy. Now it's like, oh, last night I was spinning around these stone circles in Avebury. I was like, wow, that was really cool. And Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin was there, which was funny. And anyway, yeah, just like we have maintenance that we have to do for our physical body, but we have to do that with our spiritual, emotional, and mental body just as much. And they're all connected, of course. So just a lot of self-care and permission to just shut it all down and connect with my heart, my soul, and what's coming through me. And so as you saw, like I just got on Twitter again, I'm writing as much as I can. And when I feel something coming through that might feel like a tension or anxiety, I give it a voice instead of, you know, just accepting, oh, I have anxiety or I'm just feeling a little bit stressed today. It's usually something wants to come through. But I got sort of used to like being so censored that I wouldn't write. It's just like, why even bother? Got a little bit apathetic. And then I'm like, no, you know better. When you're starting to feel that anxiety or that tension, you know, give it a voice, write about it, because then I find my own medicine comes through and I feel better about the words that I shared that I wouldn't be able to find if I'm just stewing in the energetic discomfort. So giving a voice to the discomfort sets it free. And I realized like that stuck energy is actually wisdom from my higher self. It's not just like something's wrong with me or I'm letting everything get to me. It's just I have something to say to provide for myself to, navigate this a little bit more easily. And we all have that connection with our higher self and intuition that wants a voice, that when we silence, our bodies doesn't like it. When we're just taking on something else outside of ourselves to define reality for us, our bodies actually really doesn't like it and it gets really uncomfortable. So I pay attention to that too.
I love it. I mean, coming onto the social media side of things and being on public platforms, you've been in this game a long while, and I call it a game not lightly, but there's been lots of changes, but also there's lots of themes that sort of come up time and time again, and putting yourself and your thoughts. And I was just saying to you before we started, I'm absolutely loving, I don't use Twitter or X that much, but I love yours because they're raw and they're real, and you can tell there's a real human that's written them. And you are talking about things that are current and you're working through, and also sharing information. So I absolutely love that balance. But what have you learned over your journey of being in the public eye about how to handle being out in that public space? Because it comes with advantages, but it also can come with some real harsh aspects of it as well.
Just there needs to be a lot of shielding and just boundaries. I mean, I've gone through a lot of things in my personal life that have impacted the way I am in my professional, I guess you call it professional. To me, it's just like we're in a war. We're on a war on consciousness, and being out on the front lines. It's not just, being professional. It's not Hollywood, it's not like, I mean, we're really exposing a lot that comes with a lot of attack and a lot of, infiltration and plants and people that will just kind of gravitate to your space and just want to disrupt it. That might appear to be just a attendee, but might be, a plant sent there to kind of disrupt your energy. You're just somebody who's really traumatized and can't process the information, is just like, help.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, okay, just like to stay as solid and grounded. I have a hard time saying no. So I'm learning how to say, I can't right now. Like, let's find a time to talk. Like let's kind of organize this a little bit better. I don't have an assistant. I don't have, somebody that's kind of like, guarding things for me. Some people do, but I don't know. I'm like, I'm just not pursuing that. I'm just, I just manage my space as best as I can. So, it helps to have a table. It helps to have signups. It helps to just have things organized. It helps to, just have a room to go into and be able to close the door. And just, I feel it's disappointing sometimes because people want to connect more and I'm like off hiding in my room, or I'm not able to see other speakers, but a lot of preparation beforehand, It's like sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm in my flow and I got it going on. And then there will be some kind of like attack or sabotage, even coming through people I used to be close with that just don't act like themselves anymore, that are carrying some kind of like energy that like really disrupts my space. And it's not their fault, or it's not necessarily a being, but I just have to know what I can and cannot handle and stay true to that, and not be worried who it's going to disappoint or who it's going to piss off or what other people's expectations are. And that's just been a difficult thing, and sometimes just seeing the good in everybody and realizing that some just aren't where it's at for that within themselves, that I have to be careful of, and just turning the sword on myself. And I'm not victimized by anything. What do I need to strengthen within myself? What am I allowing in? What wounds do I have? What do I need to look at? Yeah. And sometimes, when I was going through a really bad breakup, I know I wasn't showing up the best of myself. And it's just like, if I need to retreat, I need to retreat. And knowing that I can't just constantly put myself out there without making sure I take care of me, or else I'm not really doing good for anyone. But, yeah, I just learned a lot from other people and just amazing individuals that I meet. And, but there is a sort of own disclosure. There's false narratives. There's sort of I'm finding out a lot about the things that go on behind the scenes is very, very disturbing. So, and I notice I'm not really being invited back to those, and I'm kind of glad. Like, I'm glad that like, I'm finding more of what feels like soul family and a vibrational match versus just being, at an event and noticing that something feels really, really off and I just can't put my finger on it. And I usually like feel really drained or like something, and I'm just noticing that the stronger the intent I hold, the more I'm drawing myself to the things that count, that I feel like filled up and excited about and inspired about, versus like, there's something just way off, in the production, in the organization, in the money making that, happens, that feeds some and doesn't take care of, others. And I tend to not really ask for much. And so I'm a yes person, even if it comes out of my own pocket. So I'm just trying to like establish, a way to not feel I'm giving too much and not being able to take care of what my needs are. And it's just a process. It's really a process, a work in progress. And I don't mean to say anything negative about certain events, but it's just some that I just feel not a vibrational match for, that aren't open the kind of information I share. These are a lot of people steering narratives that I'm busting down that don't want me anymore. So I'm like, okay.
There's so much of that, isn't there? And it's such an interesting process of these waves that I feel that I'm riding, of sort of constantly learning, reassessing, retuning your intuition, as you say, redefining your boundaries. And it's interesting. It's midwinter in the UK here, and you mentioned earlier the lack of sun, the lack of warmth and everything. All of these things will have an impact on the cycle of where we're all at the moment, individually and globally. Hi everyone. I just wanted to take a quick break in this fantastic episode to ask you this. Are you as fed up as I am with all the stress triggers that we're constantly bombarded with every day? From geoengineering, EMFs, fake and toxin-filled food, unstable political leaders that no one trusts have our best interest at heart, global agendas, financial struggles, the list feels endless, doesn't it? But here's the thing, there are solutions. Whatever challenges the so-called powers that be throw at us, nature, and we as real humans, always have the ability to rise above it and find the answers. I've seen it time and time again, not just in my own life, and trust me, I'm a natural worrier, but also with the many clients I've worked with over the years, both human and animal. That's why I've created something that I'm incredibly excited to share with you, my Mastering Stress and Resetting Your Nervous System online course. This is where I've pulled together all my best tools, techniques and strategies, everything that's made a huge difference for me personally and my clients. And the best part is you get lifelong access so you can revisit whenever you need. You can ask questions as you go through the course. There's an 80-page comprehensive ebook, over 4 hours of videos and audios, discounts on products and consults, and free access to bonus modules with expert guests. And to top it all, you can get the free Teachable app for on-the-go learning so you can incorporate all of this into your already busy routine. The time's right now to take back control of your health, your stress levels and your life. So let's do this together. Click on the link below this video, join our incredible community, and no matter whatever the world throws to us, we'll thrive. Because the truth is, we are all stronger than we think we are. And when we combine the power of nature with our determination, we're simply unstoppable. So let's make this happen together. The link to join is below. And now back to the podcast. Have you had some sort of defining aha moments for yourself over the last few years that you want to share?
I think there's just a lot of clickiness and division in this community. And I don't really want to say community because it's I like to stretch out the word community into a global community. It's not just like some like niche. It's just there's a lot of information coming out though that we all need to wake up to eventually on our own terms, and when we're ready, the resources are there. But yeah, there's some connections that have fallen apart that I feel really at peace about. Like I'm really glad that I don't have to keep up with the individuals anymore. Because I realized what would have had to be compromised for them to want me in their world. So because I know I didn't do anything that makes sense to deserve it. Because when the same thing happens to me, I don't respond in the same way. I'm not saying that I'm some like better person for it, but I see people interviewing individuals that have trashed my great-grandfather that literally like wouldn't give my work the time of day. And I see colleagues and friends, open to their information. I'm not going to drop those connections and friendships. I think we need to explore everything. And I find that there's like a punishing energy and like like you're ostracized or banned if you talk to certain individuals or you're not promoting a narrative or you're not have undying loyalty. And it's not about betrayal or not having, a connection there, but like we need to just understand the terrain and who's saying what. And if somebody can't appreciate my neutrality and that my heart's in the right place and they decide to dump me as a friend for it, I'm feeling a lot stronger in myself. And the aha moment is, I know where my heart's at and I know where I'm coming from. No matter how many videos of attack are coming at me because I did something, I'm not going to fall into the pit of like feeling, I deserve this treatment. So a lot more self-respect, a lot more strength in myself in the face of it, because I know when it's done to me, I don't respond in that way. I still give the person like, the respect that they deserve just because they're open to what somebody says. They might not even know the extent to how they're bashing this and that. And I don't expect undying loyalty. The thing is like, we're here to awaken. We're here to, take what resonates and leave the rest, not to put ourselves on a pedestal and expect, people to just absolutely agree 100% with what we have to share. You need to see a contrast so that you can discern for yourself. And that's what I really emphasize in my book. Take all this, take what resonates and leave the rest. I'm not pushing the narrative. I'm sharing what this person has told me. I'm sharing, the research that I got over here. And I'm just presenting it to you. And what do you feel? If I was pushing a narrative and felt threatened by everybody who questions it, that's to me the old paradigm model of like guru religion cultishness. And I'm not naming names and I'm not saying that anybody that has done this to me I'm putting in those labels, but I'm finding more empowerment in the face of feeling rejected or banned for things that I did not mean to hurt anybody over. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone. And if we can't come together and work things out and heal, then it doesn't belong in my life, because I think that's critical if there's a misunderstanding. And I just find that there's a lot of low level gossip and just smear campaigns that people are doing amongst each other, and how is that possibly connected to a benevolent group? I feel benevolence welcomes it. They know we're traumatized. They understand that we're trying to trust again, and in trusting we have to trust ourselves. And it's healthy to ask difficult questions. It's healthy to have a boundary, because anything that's benevolent wants us to discover this for ourselves, doesn't require our belief systems, just wants us to feel the unconditional love and support of our own growth and development. And that's what the aha moment is, that's what I'm connected with. And I don't need to worry about the rest. And I just need to stay the course and stay true to myself in that regard. And I'm open for reconciliation, or that there wasn't time to reconcile and there's really no issue or problem. It just is something that hasn't happened yet. So again, I don't want to cast anybody as being what I'm saying, but the aha moment is, I know who I am. I know where my heart is, and I'm just going to keep moving forward. And whatever falls away from me in that process, I'm not going to hold on to or allow whatever projections, to get the best of me, or feel bummed out, or feel, this isn't the way it should be. It's like, yes, it is the way it should be, because this is part of the mission, to be true to me and to continue to do what I came here to do, and help unite people and put out the intention that everything can be healed and resolved. Let's just, work on that. And hopefully it'll come around. And if not, like, I'm not missing anything.
Oh my God, I think what you said there, Laura, is so, so important. I mean, I think everyone watching this will be able to resonate for that in periods of their life and what they've been through. And I think it is what a huge step to sort of have that realization that you don't have to keep playing these games anymore. It's so empowering. I mean, I've been through very similar, and I feel so much stronger because of it. And sometimes I have dips and I mourn certain things. And then when I really sit back and think about them, I'm not really mourning that at all. I'm not mourning. I'm mourning what I hoped it could be. It's like when people get together with a partner and they think they can change them and mold them into what they want. It's that sort of feeling. So I have a secret giggle to myself when I'm going through those little pity parties, when I start realizing, oh, no, it was never like that in the first place. But the reconciliation is huge, because we're seeing so much come out. You've mentioned a bit about the Diddy the Epstein, that there's so many things coming out. Wherever you look, there's something new. I mean, I'm on a real journey of discovery on the geopolitical side of things, and realizing how much I didn't know and still don't know. How do you think people can really, or how do you work with your energy to decide where your focus is? Where are you going to put your energy? Where are you going to put your focus?
Oh, how do I decide?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when I feel like an urgency or just like this, I have to say this, I have to write this. Um, or do I need to engage in this? Is this just going to drain me? Is this just trying to entangle me in something? It's like when I was on Twitter and like Mike King, who's calling Eisenhower a globalist and a communist. It's like, excuse me. And it's like, wow, okay, here's a data dump for you, that you can even just like find no problem that, Eisenhower in 1954 signed an act where, communism was banned, and that you would have to like be on trial and like it just wasn't allowed. So how can you call him a communist? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And like all this stuff. And he wrote a book. It's like, that's major defamation. And that's majorly trying to rewrite history. That's like, wow. And the people that, fall for it, I'm just amazed by, and the constant onslaught of attack. Every time I post
Yeah.
something, it's just like pictures of it or death camps or your great grandfather's evil. And it's like, if he was, I'd be like, yeah, I know he's a freaking evil. I came here for truth. So if he was evil, I'd be calling him out. Like I'm related to like a really, really bad man. And let's look at this. And I did, without the biasness. I'm like, like even with the ET government treaties, and every time, I would come across these stories, and be like, wow, that maybe that is the case. Synchronicities would lead me to information that counteracted it, or I would work with an Akashic record keeper, or I would just find the information, like a renowned military historian that has no political affiliations, is not connected to deep state, put out a documentary debunking all of this about him starving German POWs, and even comments say, I had a relative who was a German POW, and all that is not true, what they're saying about him, and lots of people saying that. So I like to talk to the real people. And when there's a bombardment, it's like, wow, think of all the interviews of MK Ultra survivors, people that were tortured by Mengele. This guy saying Mengele was a good guy, that the Nazis were good. It's like this propaganda is so out of control that my focus is on, instead of getting engaged, like I'm just going to write a new book. I'm just going to interview people that, can address this without having to address the onslaught of attack. I can delete, I can block, I can copy and paste, all the information that I already have. I already wrote a blog about it. And it's just like easy enough to just be like, all right, just check this out. I'm not going to get engaged in the negative energy of it. I'm not going to let myself be drained by it, because, really, the deep state that funds both sides of war, is targeting root races that were meant to come together and to pit us against each other. And I'm like, you're playing into exactly what they want. Why are we so stuck on our dark history when we need to unite? I don't think any of us have relatives that were perfect or ancestors, right? And whether we came from evil or heroes and goodness, it doesn't matter. Who are we today, and why did we come in? A lot of individuals came into the MK Ultra families to recover from it and expose them. Are we going to hold them to their families and relatives? So I have an agreement with Eisenhower, and he happens to be a very benevolent person. And I found out things that counteract all of it, much, not to my surprise, but like much to the validation of what I knew in my heart, that he set up the positive military units to offset the unconditional surrender agreement in 1952 under Truman, to begin to dismantle the ICC Nazi Draco alliance. And it's not, Nazis aren't the true Germans. Zionists aren't the true Jews. Can we get over it already? And I just see all these tactics. So my focus is stay grounded, provide the information, because, it needs to be out there, and then people can decide. It's like, I'm not here to save everybody, and truth doesn't need followers. I say this a lot. Just like, God's not going to go away if we don't believe that God is there. Truth is the same thing. Whether I'm a little bit off either, it doesn't matter, because it's going to remain. And we either get as close as we can, we either get in alignment with it, and we stay open-minded to, the information, and we can have mutual love and respect to put it all out on the table and, find some answers. Awesome. But that's just not happening. There's nothing but laughing at me, ridicule, you're crazy. And I'd rather listen to you, this other author who has a background in marketing and advertising, versus survivors and people who have family members, and they're like, oh, you're a plant, you're a shill, you're a Jew, just it's just like nasty, nasty, nasty. So I'm trying to find a boundary to it, but bring in the information, provide the interviews, and protect my space, and just have something to share with people that come at me, and just keep it simple instead of engaging in this battle, because it's just been so cruel. And to feel like this family has been in such service to humanity, and me coming in, and all of us, just the thanklessness, the lack of gratitude, the lack of being able to really, really see, it's like, wow, being so punished and abused for doing all I can to help, awaken humanity. And then I have to answer to everything he did. Who does that? Like, why put that on? It's just like ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, there's so much projection, isn't there? And projection is always about not wanting to look at yourself.
Yeah. And I understand, but it's just like, don't make me the piñata. Like, if you can't see my heart, and or the research that I've done, or even give my book the time of day, or just like look at this information and understand also his background, and also that, they have time travel technologies. They can surveil you before coming in, and they targeted me to go off planet. So they probably targeted him when he was a West Point kid to even play a part in this war. And when he didn't go along with them, when he warned us in his final speech, when he started to offset all of this, wow, that's when it became really threatening. All these false narratives to cover up so much, that they don't want us to know that we didn't win the war, and it's a war on consciousness, which includes rewritten history and a lot of propaganda. Yeah. So, we just, need to understand that, and not have fixed beliefs as much as I don't. I'm just presenting it all. But like, let's work on rehabilitation and healing instead of, getting caught in the web. Like, if I held everybody to their relatives and ancestors, I can't even imagine or fathom, it's like I see the starseeds coming in. I see the earth warriors. I see the people that are correcting the wrongs of our history to make it right. We're not just our lineage, like some of us are walking, some of us came into these family lines to change the energy of it all. I just happened to have collaborated with Eisenhower in his administration to come in at this time, because what he wanted to expose was not available to be exposed at that time, but now it is. But he did set these things up that still survive today, but it's had to skip a generation. So, and take it or leave it. It's like, I'm not suffering over it. That's really the trajectory you want to be on, that might ensnarl you, entangle you, and take you down a road that might not be so great, because it's very toxic and very dark the way people are acting,
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's the difference between that, not so much about protecting the family name. It's not about him. It's about protecting future generations from getting caught in the Nazi propaganda that is leading them into this, mindset that, could be very, very dangerous. So, and I'll just try and preserve what I can and have the resources for it as much as possible, and not attached to who takes it or leaves it. I'm just going to be love, unconditional love, and compassion, and I'll stand to be corrected if any of my facts are off, with an open mind.
I love it. And one of my friends said to me this weekend, we were talking about her mother, who's no longer with us, and her mum always used to say, at the end of the day, each and every one of us, it's our heads that lie on our pillow at night. And we've got to be happy with where we're at. When we've got those last moments before sleep, oh, cat's knocking everything off. We know how we've behaved. We know how we've conducted ourselves. We've known what our agendas are. And the most important thing is we have to live with that. What is your vision for where we're at, and what you want to see coming over the next few years for humanity and for yourself?
Just a lot of cooperation, just a lot of like moving forward, and just seeing, just the value of all of that, community and healing, and just a lot of those that have been duped, awakening, with comfort in their hearts that, the resources are there to override and overcome anything that you might be in fear of, that you consented to, that you're realizing now wasn't, maybe in your best interests, and to forgive yourself. It's for us to all forgive each other and forgive one another, and to really understand how played and manipulated and duped we've been, to also understand that, those that have been in these power industries, that have played prominent roles in leadership positions, that are part of like the darker agendas, that they were probably blackmailed. They're probably, been trauma-based mind controlled. They're probably running altars, that we have to understand like the deeper layers of it all, and be willing to, really just get to the root of it all, to shift, society, and that each one of us has to play that important role, in our lives, in our communities, wherever you feel called. You don't have to push yourself to do something that doesn't feel right. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's something more about, just tending to yourself and your home and your family, but that, that more people are on board and more people are participating in turning this around in a vibration of confidence and inspiration, that there's no bioweapon, there's no choice that has been made in the past that we can't overcome. We've been exposed to, bioweapons, all of us, spike proteins, geoengineering, things, tainting our food, that we're in a time where the zodiac corrections and the alchemical laws of creation are available to us to really turn this lead into gold, to just align with that and notice the synchronicities that support that, will help you out of any rut, that there'll be more just assistance for those people to make the transition into a more positive trajectory. And that we're not like thinking of the doom and gloom, or they're all screwed, or, we're constantly victimized. It's like, I talked to Stuart Swerdlow, and, these dark technologies are going to turn around and emit positive energies and positive vibes. And, and that's going to change the way it functions in our body. And I really think that there's going to be a mass transformation out of like a lot of the ramifications that have come with how we've been assaulted through the media, through the psyops, through the false flags, and through what we've ingested or put into our bodies, that is all going to turn back around. There'll be a lot of casualties. It's not going to happen overnight, but that we're shifting into all that. And we'll feel a sense of, peace in our hearts, and not like it's coming from outside of us, that we're taking it upon ourselves, because it's right under our nose. At any moment, we could choose herbs, and we could choose, healing versus, the other choices that are more enslaving. So we have to determine, that we're going to make those choices, and then we're a part of the greater forces on the planet for change. And as, people might still feel like they're getting entangled in all of that, that's falling away, and they'll realize that whatever they were trusting is being exposed for who they really are, that it's like, wow, I want to go over here now. A lot of people aren't going to be told. That's not how humans work. A lot of times they have to fall down and get back up again. They have to go to rock bottom to really see, to really get that experience in their soul memory, so that they can, turn themselves around. Nobody's going to be convinced and talked into it until they hit a crisis point where they have no choice, and that, now they're ready. And I'm not saying everybody's like that. Some have just been open-minded, and they feel the resonance. They feel like, yes, 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 I've known that all my life. I was never able to speak about it. That'll be a lot easier for them. But those who are like really stubborn, or just like holding on to it for dear life, it's going to take a crisis point, or seeing family and friends have that crisis point, and so it's going to be different for everybody. A divorce is always sticky. It's never easy, but for some, it's going to be a little easier than others. But as long as we know that each and every one is on their own course and timing to begin to break the bonds, whether it's in this lifetime or a future one, we're all going to come home, and we can trust that, and we can let go of like the extra worry and burden we place upon ourselves to where our family and friends are. Just be a resource, be unconditional love and compassion, and just trust that it's all going to be okay at the end of the day, that we're all going to get there.
Absolutely. I know you're on a very tight agenda, so I've only got one more question, and then how people can connect with you. So my last question is, do you think, and if so, why do you think it's so difficult for humans to say sorry?
I don't know. It's really easy for me to say sorry, even when I don't have anything to be sorry about. I'm just like, even with my husband and my kids, and just people, it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so, yeah. I don't know why it's so hard, or oh, I'm mistaken, or let me, self-correct. So that is something I probably do even more than I want to, not in a way that's disempowering, but like, I'm very, very sensitive to how I am and how I impact people. Even in interviews, like, oh my gosh, was that too much? Somebody who's hearing it for the first time, I'm sorry if this is too overwhelming. It's just like, or like, I apologize if I've intruded, or, and I think it's hard for some people because they want to feel like you did something wrong and they didn't. And it's just this blame, shame, victim game, or people that have like propped themselves up. It's like, some of the people that we're talking about that we won't name names, I don't see them necessarily coming back anytime soon and saying, sorry, I rejected you. Sorry, I didn't open up a dialogue when you reached out and really wanted to talk. I'm sorry that I didn't realize that 6 months had gone by. And, it's like, and I'm sorry for my part. I'm sorry that, I didn't like look into this deeper or didn't address this public. It's just like if we could all just say we're sorry, then there's real healing. And it's not sorry as in I'm wrong, but I'm sorry that it didn't happen in the way that my intention was holding. I'm sorry that, I'm sorry for the situation becoming what it has. And let's do our best to like recover from that. And I don't expect anybody to be sorry like they did anything wrong. Just as when I'm sorry, I don't feel like I did anything wrong. It just didn't come out right. The timing wasn't right. The way that you perceived it wasn't what my intention was. Can we repair this? And I think it's just hard for people because humility is hard for people. People are holding on to, ego, which has been compartmentalized. Like, I'm right, you're wrong, follow me, and I can do no wrong, and everybody else is wrong for questioning that. And I think, eventually it has an expiration date. And people are just going to be pushed into it. They're going to see that whatever it was that they were doing isn't really working anymore, and they're going to need to like answer to it, not in a way that is anything but let's show that we can be the example for the human race and how to recover in communities, in certain groups, in certain. And I don't like to isolate it to a group, but I'm just saying like it's like parents when they're getting a divorce. Are you going to fight in front of your kids all the time? Are you going to abandon each other and hurt the children? Or are you going to show your maturity and like agree to disagree, come together in harmony for the sake, of everybody else, and I'm not calling children the people that are listening, but, you can take on this person's information. I'm not threatened by it. You can listen to my information. You decide at the end of the day. And we're going to like, have mutual love and respect and just, and if they can't do that, then I would question why they're pushing such a narrative and why that's so threatening to them. The ones that are able to do that, I feel are the friendships that are enduring in my life, like, oh, your information, that's awesome. Like I'm gaining something from that. Oh, thank you for listening to me. And like, wow, there's something of a resonance here, but we might be approaching it in different ways. And I love to hear yours. You love to hear mine. If we're all reaching the same goal, if we're all heading in the same direction, why is it so threatening to not look at it the same way? And I think, okay, if somebody like smeared and this and that, like that's where, I'm sorry this person thinks this way about you, but it doesn't reflect on me. I say it under my videos that whatever this guest is saying, I don't necessarily agree with, but it's just like reading a book. It's like, okay, I take and I know I'm being sort of redundant, but I think, I guess what I'm trying to say, what am I trying to say?
Well, that makes complete sense to me.
It's just like, I just wish, we would see more of this. And if not, like that, this is where I stand. I stand to be corrected. I'm happy to apologize. I want to know what you feel I did that was wrong. And I want to be able to share with you, not what I think that you did that was wrong, but where, this didn't make any sense to me. Can you help me to understand? Because we can have our imaginations run wild and project what we think the other person's thinking. Why don't we have a real discussion and find out for ourselves and then see where we're at? So I'm all about promoting that. And if a person's not willing, then I'm just moving on. And if anybody, has a hard time with any information I shared, please, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to, have a little consultation with me or get a session and, get to know me a little bit more. And if you find that you're getting caught in somebody's smear campaign against me, do you have it in you to get to know me instead of run with that gossip and come and hurt me and attack me? Because it's just like, let's just all be mature and grow up a little bit and see for ourselves and move out of this lower mentality of just because somebody said this or that, it makes it real. So I'm just promoting healing, rehabilitation, and camaraderie, cooperation, and peace and harmony amongst each other is where it's at. And again, if we can't do that, maybe the day will come. And until then, I have nothing but love in my heart and respect and appreciation for the work that's being put out there. And I'm sorry if it seems like I'm smearing, saying I don't resonate with this. Doesn't feel like it's coming from benevolence, but that could just be, one breakthrough away from realizing, oh, okay, maybe I was mistaken and that's not what's actually happening. So I'm just processing through it for where others might be feeling the same way, or having these questions or doubts. And hopefully, if anybody were to hear this that is offended by it, just see the deeper intention that I just want to understand, because right now it feels more hurtful than benevolent. Can we step it up? Because none of us need to be feeling this way. And if we are, let's just move forward and let it go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Brilliantly said. So,
oh God, I hope.
No, it is. And I think it is, we have to be, yes, we're emotional creatures, us humans, but we also have to learn and move on. And we can't be criticizing public figures in one respect for behaving like this and then behaving like yourself behaving like that ourselves. And, you know, sorry is such an important word if heartfelt, and there can be so many ways and so many intentions behind that. So I think that's
I know.
well,
Thank you. I mean, I put in comments too. I'm like, I think she's amazing and I think her work is amazing, but like, I don't understand this, but maybe what I'm not understanding, I don't have the answers for. This is just how it feels, but that's just where I'm at. Just like they have every right to feel the way they do just because I interviewed somebody. But can't we just talk, you know? Or if not, then agree to just let go and wish each other the best on our journeys and just hope that you know, everybody's heart is in the right place and we're truly in service to humanity. That's the priority, that if we're going to be in these positions, that we're in it for the right reasons. And that's, you know, what I strive for. And that's where my integrity lies, because it's not about me. It's about all of us and working together. I don't want to be on any kind of pedestal. I don't want you to, you know, gravitate to, you know, what I say. You know, find what your truth is and let's resonate together and love each other. And I honor, you know, what your conclusions are and what mine are. Is the vastness of all possibility, but you know, the highest timeline, you know, of rehabilitation and healing for the human race is the most important thing, and that is a priority above the information and the right or wrongs of it.
Completely, couldn't agree more. So how can people connect with you and how can they see with you? You've been on a whirlwind of visits and things. How can they connect with your work, Laura? And have you got any trips coming up?
Yeah, I have a cruise coming up, and then I'm touring around with George Lewis in Florida. I've got events in Florida later in the year. I'm going to update my website, but my website's cosmicguide.org. I do astrology readings, and I have my channels there: Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. My social media. Yeah, and I do events, and I have a subscription thing. I'm building a new platform. And thank you so much for having me. I always love talking to you. And then you're going to be on my show next, and we're just going to keep this conversation alive. And I look forward to having you on. So I'll be sending an invite to you to just, because I have a lot of questions for you wanting to catch up. And thank you for being such a great friend and all the beautiful work you do. So I look forward to hearing, you know, your news. And so hopefully in January we could do that.
Yeah, in January, one of these days we'll meet up soon. Love you lots, Laura. I think you're a powerhouse. I think you're inspirational. If anyone, all Laura's links will be below. If anyone hasn't had a reading with her, oh my goodness, is all I can say. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Laura. Enjoy your connections on the cruise. I know one of our mutual friends is coming and we'll be seeing you there. And let's connect in the new year. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.